What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It's me, John Caspian. And today we're going to be painting our Sacrosanct chamber. These guys are cool. This is the female version of the dude who's in the night haunt thing, which is good. So she's cool. And then she has a little staff here. Let's show that off. Bam. That's cool. I'm giving you guys a nice close-up view so you can see the paint work up close. Wish me luck, as when it gets this close, it's very scary. It really is. Just look at it. Oh my goodness. So if you won't mind pressing the share button on this video, it's in the bottom left. It makes sure that people can see this and watch these videos. October is going to be a huge month for Gigabytes Cafe. We have Halloween. We've got all kinds of stuff going on. So it's big. We have drink specials, which we're going to talk about tomorrow. We have our subscriber special. If you're on our email list, go to gigabytescafe.com/newsletter. Make sure you sign up for that. What else? We have a Harry Potter thing that we're doing, which is going to be great. So we have that also we're going to announce tomorrow. I'm missing something else, but I'll look over my notes and see. So let me just share these to our groups, and we can get started. That's good enough. All right. Tell me what you guys are painting tonight. Are you playing? Are you painting? What are you doing? So when we're talking about the Sacrosanct chamber, today we're covering edge highlighting as well as the base coats and the washes. So with this particular color scheme, we're going with a silver, and then we are also doing a gold, which is the Game Color Glorious Gold from Vallejo. Great colors. And then we're doing this sort of maroon red. You can't really see it through the bottle, but that one's a good, and then we're highlighting with more of a strong red. And it's a little dark orange red. It's not quite. Maybe it's good. And this one's saddle brown. So this is for all of your details for your ladies' drape right there. Any sort of pouches, hair, that kind of stuff. And then we have Arcadian flesh tone. Good old skin tones. Always great. Colin, building Beasts of Chaos. Dude, that's awesome. I just finished building my Beast Claw Raiders, and I even had enough spare parts to build what's basically a butcher. Look at that. So that's enough. I gotta get a cauldron for him, but that's enough to do a butcher, I think, which is great. So after we do the saddle brown, we then go in with either Nuln Oil or Reichland Flesh Shade, and that's going to do for the reds and the skin tones, what we need Nuln Oil to do for all the metals and whatnot. And then finally, for her gem, for her staff, we're doing Glacier Blue, which is pretty light blue, followed by Frost Blue, which is definitely a light blue, which is going to be awesome. So let's go ahead and get started. When you're talking about all of these things on the Sigmarines, this stuff is very large and broad details, so edge highlighting I think works really well here compared to necessarily dry brushing. So we have the cloak, which we're going to do now. Since I've already base coated for y'all, I can save time with the metals. I went ahead and base coated the silver, and I'm going to go ahead and go on the drape. So this top drape is, or the cloak here, is going to be red, and then I'm actually going to start with a lighter red on the front one. So it starts off with a darker red and then a lighter red. You can use either your small brush or your base brush, totally up to you. And I'm looking at the base brush right there. What's up, y'all? Tell me what you're painting as you're following along. Let's get some conversations going. So I have, in Cincinnati, there's the Games Workshop store, about 20 minutes away from my house, and they're having an Age of Sigmar tournament on Saturday. So I got to see if I can actually get my Beast Claw Raiders at least 3 base colors, because I feel like going into a store, any sort of tournament, you have to have at least a little bit of color on there. So I'm getting the angles here. I'm trying to get the angles here to where you can see me putting the paint on the palette. There we go, in the background. So you can see that, how I'm working that. So here, it's kind of thick, so you can see how that's kind of pulled up a little bit. So all I'm doing is taking a dab of, of water, and then I'm going to bring it in from the side and pull it away, and you see how it thins out. So that's called thinning it paints, and you're adding water to the mixture, just a little bit at a time, not too much. You can always swish it around until it gets a good consistency for you. It should be like skim milk, and if you're not familiar with that, or if you don't drink milk, soy milk, always good. So yeah, it's good. And it shouldn't, when you pull it away, it shouldn't draw back. If it draws back, that means there's too much water on there. So this is pretty good. I like this. When we're going in here, the first coat that I'm doing is going to be a little messy, and that's A-okay with me. I don't mind. And these thin coats, you see how it's laying down and it's not being a full layer. This might be actually a little too thin, which is fine, because you can always go back in and do another thin coat. As Duncan always says, 2 thin coats. I should do this entire stream in a British accent. That would not be fun. Especially considering there's so many different British accents. They're great. I was recent in a show, Mary Poppins, I had to have a Cockney accent, which no one does Cockney well, who's not British. If you're British, you can totally do Cockney well, but in my experience, if you're not, just don't even try. Might be a little embarrassing. For these details, I'm either going to go copper, because it's still a reddish hue, or I might go gold on them. And I had to be a little careful around the silver here. Now, I am painting these for y'all not the most careful on purpose, because from my experience, I was talking with someone today about this, and I was saying I've noticed a lot of painting streams, they end up having the models so good looking that I wonder how I can actually do that. Like, how can I paint that well? And they're like, oh, just, put on a couple of thin coats and do this and that, and then you have a beautifully painted model. Very few people who haven't been painting for a while are going to have this beautiful model right away. So I like to show that you don't have to have a perfect, like, you can be a little messy sometimes. I might be a little messy here, but it's fine. You don't have to be perfect as you're painting, because perfect painting is not done painting. You simply cannot get painting done if you're going to be perfect about it. Or you're not going to get enough done, and then you're going to be disappointed that you didn't get enough painting done. So either way, you would lose if you're going for perfection there. Now, progress is different. Painting progress is very important. So that means that you learn as you go, as you make mistakes, as you do something interesting and new. And by trying interesting and new stuff, like I tried 2-brush blending, and I wasn't terribly good at it. Granted, I'm still not great at it, but I'm practicing and I'm getting better at it, which is great. Alright, so we're going to let that dry a little bit. I think they're a little too thin, which is A-okay. I'm okay with that. But it looks good. We're going to go jump straight to her flesh tone. So with this, we're going with Cadian flesh tone, and we're simply putting it on to her face, avoiding getting it into this metal part that's on her neck. So we don't want that there. So what I do with the GW bottles, you got them here, and you take a little bit out, and it's a little bit thick right now. So you put it on the palette, you brush it off, get a dab of water, and then brush it until it's mixed in. Then you get it off of your brush by doing brush strokes onto the palette, as you can see in the corner there. And as you do brush strokes off of the palette, it gets to where you can kind of see, almost see through it. And that's the point that you want to paint the model. Then it goes on, and it should go on to where you can see all the details. Beautiful. It might even be still too thick, which is okay, because again, I haven't touched that Cadian flesh tone in a hot second. And anytime I'm putting on the base coat, I'm really not worrying about perfection in the cleanliness. But as Duncan always says, being cleanly is nice because you don't have to go back over it. But with this kind of stuff, I don't mind getting into her hair because I'm doing her hair next. So I don't need to bother about being clean there. So I can tell you that my 5G is what's the issue. It crashed, and it's not being a good champ. So I turned down the brightness settings because the light is right here. So it's reflecting nicely the skin tones on the camera. You don't see that kind of reflection in person. But on camera it looks really kind of natural, like a natural reflection on there. So a little bit on her chin still needs to get painted on, drawn on. Gotta change the angle a little bit here so I can actually see it. There we go. All right, done. Oh, I missed one little spot. Come on. There we go. Nice. That is good. All right, her face is now on, which is always a good sign. So face is done. The little drape, the first cape area is done almost. I think we need to go back in with one more layer once it dries off. I added a tiny bit too much water there, and that's fine. So now we're going to do some leather bits. So for the leather parts and the hair, I'm using a saddle brown, which is kind of a light brown, as you can see right there. It's going to be washed down with Nuln Oil rather than a red or a brown wash, and that's going to just make it a little duller compared to the reds, because I want the reds to be very vibrant. Let's go ahead and get into our hair, and we're just doing nice brush strokes into the recesses. There we go. Adjust the camera. And this is starting off. It's not a very red brown, which is good. It almost draws a little more on the pink side, flesh tone side, which is good. And there are many kind of browns that you can get. A lot of browns will pull toward red, especially in shadows. Like they'll darken a little more red. And it's A-okay to use whatever brown that you want to use. Just depends on what effect you're going for. If you're looking to highlight, there's highlights such as bone colors, which work well for woods if you're wanting to make a highlight for a wood. Bone colors are more yellow, which is closer to the inside of the trees, the tree fibers. So bone colors are great for that. And if you're wanting to do more things like dark skin tones, I suggest getting triads from companies like Vallejo. We can get that to you at the store. And you get the triads so you have the skin highlight depending on what kind of skin tone you're going for. I find it's more natural if you go ahead and get a pre-done mix versus mixing it yourself. One trick whenever you're looking to highlight yourself, if you're making a color and you're going to highlight it yourself, don't just highlight with like a white. So don't take red and then highlight with white, you're going to get pink. Take more orange. So it just depends. You got to mess around with it, do your thing, see what works well for you, but don't go straight into whites and whatnot. You end up taking some of that saturation out of the color. If you don't want to take the saturation out of the color, you're going to be disappointed with the results. Bam. All right. Couple of spots there in the bottom, but from my angle I can't really get it. My hands are underneath the microphone. That is A-okay. Alright, so we already have the cape, and we have the hair, and then we're going to go in with a gold, and we're going to get her thing on top of her shoulder, which is the hammer, Sigmar's hammer, and then we're going to get the thing on her knee, and then the thing on her chest. I'm trying to see the detail there, but I'm not sure exactly what it is. So for this, I'm doing Glorious Gold. Glorious Gold's a good color. I like the Vallejo game colors. And they're nice. Super nice. They're a little on the thicker side, which is okay. You can use a tiny bit of water. You can use metal medium. I believe we have metal medium on the Vallejo rack at the store. And mediums are great because they don't quite change the consistency like paint does. Yeah, this is good. So here we're going to be very careful. So we're just getting on the raised areas. We're just going to draw. We're a little bit too wet on the thing there. Got to get a little more off. There we go. When you details, don't want to get too much paint on there at once. Yeah. Yeah. Done. Love it. Beautiful. And then we go into the front thing here. We can go ahead and get this. Normally I would go ahead and get this little brown part first, but since we have the gold out, we'll just get it done. So it's interesting is this bright studio light that I have is actually making it difficult to see the actual paint going on. Like I can see it afterwards, but as I'm putting it on, it's actually really difficult to see. I can actually see it through the camera better than in person, which is very interesting. There we go. That's a little thick, but it's okay. And that part, you know what? I'm going to leave that part there. We're just going to get this little thingy there at the bottom. More insignias and stuff like that. There we go. Alright, that's good enough for now. Can always clean it up later, make sure it's filled in. Yeah, I don't mind that at all. What do y'all think of that so far? This is a reddish color scheme that we're going for. So now I'm going to paint the lighter portion of her drape. And that's going to be a lighter red. This is called Carnage Red. It's a Reaper one. But it's just a step above this lower red, which is more of the crimson maroon color. I think it's more crimson. So this brighter red is meant to be sort of the stronger highlight and really draws you toward the torso area of her body. Tiny dab of paint, mix it in there. There we go. So I'm going to do it in this portion right there. Boom. Tell me what y'all painting. What are y'all up to tonight? It is a good October. It's going to be a great month. Lots of activities. All the fall stuff going on. The weather. Everything is great. Gigabytes is going to be super hopping. And not like a bunny hop. But activity. Bustling around. I unfortunately won't be able to get down to Georgia until November. But it's okay. I plan on getting some Lord of the Rings stuff. Orcs. I'm going to paint up some orcs. It's going to be amazing. Alright, well that's a little splotchy. I had a little too much water. But again, I can always do a two thin coats approach. And then I'm going to go back on with the brown here real quick so that I can paint in this part, the leather bits, the leather strips right there. I'm going to go back in with that leather color and put it down. It's super fun painting these guys. The details aren't intimidating, so you can use a little bit of speed. So if you got to get a bunch done, that is great. And it's super fun to highlight them because the edges are nice and strong and they stand out a lot. And then you can really tell how you're supposed to paint just by kind of eyeballing it. A lot of models, I get confused as to exactly where to put paint and whatnot. I have to reference photos. But this one I really can just put the paint down and have a good time. It's really enjoyable. There we go. And on the bottom, bam. What's up, Damon? How you doing? Look at that. A couple more details missed, but that's okay. Because I always like to go in with a second base coat and make sure any little spots that I missed, I go back in. Nice. All right, she's turning out pretty well so far. Now I'm going to put the hair on, and the hair's the same thing as the leather. The only difference I'm doing with these two browns is that I'm painting the hair reddish brown, and then I'm painting the leather stuff with Nuln Oil. So I'm washing it. Two different tones. It's going to turn out very different. Yeah. There we go. Got to turn her sideways so I can actually hold her with a brush. Yeah, I'm not going to get that right now. My hand's too limited at the moment. There we go. All right. Good enough for now. I'll get her ear later and a little bit of hair there. The other ear be done. But you can see how that's shaping up. It looks super nice. All right, so now we're going to get the metal of the handlebar. And then I guess we can go ahead and do the brown of the hands as well. So this part right here, super quick. Just get that paint on there, get it around. You can get both sides pretty easily. There we go. And you're going to let that dry. And as that dries, you move on to something else. So eventually, by the time you get done with all your base coats, you can start the washing process. So I always like to, especially when I'm going fast, if I'm doing batch painting, I do all of the one color for about 5 models. I don't tend to do more than 5 models at a time. It just gets a little boring if I'm batch processing that many. But for me, about 5 models is great. If there's something like just skin, if it's like orcs or, what is it, the Night Haunts, those are fine. But for this stuff, I'm happy with that. Pretty fun. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and do the blue on the side gem thing that she has. And for this, I'm just wanting to avoid the glove. That's all. Just avoid the glove, be a happy camper. Get that on there. Fun gem. Get the exact right angle. Good distance from the camera, and go. The gloves, I'm thinking, are going to be leather too. You wear leather gloves in battle. There we go. And this side. I just don't want to go back over the metal again. So as long as I avoid the metal, I'm good. Nice. There we go. Beautiful. 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 Make sure to join our Age of Sigmar groups. We have Atlanta, Age of Sigmar. Now that's really starting to pop already, and I haven't even finished the base coating yet. It's already looking good. Go back over a second layer with everything. Fill in her robe here on the arms. On the side tassel here, that's going to be a parchment color. Same thing as the top. Right there, it's going to be a parchment color, and then we're going to go gold. Sorry, hit the mic there. We're going to go gold for the top of the staff. But for me, for now, I am done tonight. So thanks y'all for watching. I appreciate it. You keep on going like this. Give it a wash and highlight, and it'll be pretty fun. I'll show you the finished one in a couple of days. Bye, everybody.